People often think Lifeweaver is just a heal bot, sitting in the back spamming blossoms and hoping they'll win. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Lifeweaver isn't a heal bot. In fact, he's actually quite bad at healing. It's slow, clunky, and puts out less than a mercy. Instead, he's an off healer and utility support, closer to heroes like Lucio, Mercy, or Zen. His real strength isn't in his healing numbers, it's how he controls space, protects teammates, and manipulates the battlefield. Playing Lifeweaver is like playing chess. You have simple tools, but how you use them, when and where, determines how powerful they are. Position your teammates, disrupt enemies, and create advantages to help your team win. Or think of it like Minecraft. You're given basic tools and a sandbox to use them in, and the only limits are your creativity. So what's Lifeweaver's utility? Using Petal and Lifegrip to give teammates high ground access or reposition them? Well, yeah, at first, but as you'll see later on in the advanced section of this guide, those abilities are capable of much more than that. But first, let's break down the basics of his kit. Before we get onto anything, first you'll want to decide what controls you're going to use. The new controls or the legacy controls. There are pros and cons to each one. With legacy controls you can have your dash on shift, or any other keybind instead of having to double jump to use it, which allows you to dash instantly. It's really strong, and feels so much better than having to double jump. And this is really niche, but you can also dash out of a Ramatra's vortex with the legacy controls, but you can't with the new controls, as you have to double jump, and you can't jump in a Ramatra's vortex. You can also dash much further than new controls by dashing on the ground and then holding the jump key. Apart from the dash though, the controls for legacy controls are really clunky, and it's a hard decision to make which controls to go with. The new controls are way more fluid and feel so much better, but having to double jump to dash can be annoying. There's also a small tech you can do with legacy controls, where you can dash on the spot, which allows you to dash on your Petal without falling off. This can be useful for healing yourself on your Petal with your dash. To do it, simply hold back or press the S key, and then let go, and instantly press dash, and you should dash on the spot. It's really niche though. Anyway, once you've chosen your controls, it's time to get onto the rest of his kit. Thorns and Blossoms. Lifeweaver's two main ranged tools are his Thorn Volley and Healing Blossoms, and learning how to weave these together is key to your team's survival and maximising your impact and uptime. Lifeweaver's Thorns actually do decent damage. They have a 2x headshot modifier and can melt enemies up close. And although they have a little spread, they also have no damage fall off, so can put out good damage at range too. On top of that, Lifeweaver is the best shield breaking support in the game, so anytime the enemy has a shield and your team doesn't badly need healing, whip out your Thorns and shred that shield. Healing Blossoms, on the other hand, are your primary healing tool. A fully charged Blossom heals for 80 and takes 1.15 seconds to charge. I almost always charge to around 40. I find it's a good balance between getting quick heals out and giving a meaningful amount of health. If your teammates aren't in immediate danger though, feel free to take your time and charge the full 80 to preserve ammo. Lifeweaver can flick his heals around almost every shield in the game. Moaga's Cage Fight, Orissa's Shield, Ramatra's Shield, Reinhardt's, and Sigma's, with the only two exceptions being Winston's Bubble and Symmetra's Photon Barrier. Also, Lifeweaver's Heal Blossom will travel to their target no matter what, even doing complete 180s mid-flight, following Tracer through her recall, or even no-clipping through the map to get there. As long as it doesn't get eaten or blocked by a shield, it will always reach its target. Now, using Thorns and Blossoms effectively in a fight comes down to rhythm and timing. Reloading is clunky, slow, and if you use any ability during it, it will reset your reload, so you want to avoid it as much as possible. If your team isn't desperate for heals and you're low on Blossoms, swap to Thorns and get some damage in. Your Blossoms will automatically reload in the background for you. The auto reload takes 2 seconds, which is about just over 40 Thorns. And during that time, a new Blossom will also be automatically charging up ready to use. The key is to constantly weave between damage and healing. Heal when it's needed, DPS with Thorns when your team is stable, and keep an eye on your ammo and auto reload. This way you're constantly contributing and maximising your uptime, whether it's through healing, damage, or shield pressure. Once you master this, you should almost never need to manually reload. You'll also want to default to Thorns mode anytime your team doesn't need healing, as this way you're constantly starting the timer for the auto reload of blossoms in the background and potentially getting free reloads. Reloading this way doesn't reset your heal blossom charge to 0 either, like manually reloading blossoms does. Once you're comfortable weaving thorns and blossoms, it's time to move on. Literally. Lifeweaver's dash is small, versatile, and surprisingly impactful. It heals for 45, moves you about 6 meters in any horizontal direction, and with only a 5-second cooldown, you can use it pretty freely most of the time. You can hold W, A, S, or D on keyboard, or forward, back, left, or right on your controller's movement stick to move in any direction you want. It's fully directional, giving you flexibility to reposition quickly. Dash is primarily used for 3 things: movement, self-healing, and ultimate charge. It helps you dodge predictable damage, escape tight spots, or get into better positions to support your team. If you need to top up your health, just want some free ult charge, or need a quick reposition, just use it. Don't overthink it. Unlike Lifegrip or Petal, it doesn't require much planning. Finally, dash can be comboed with blossoms or Lifegrip in emergencies. If a teammate is low and you desperately need to heal them or pull them, but they're out of line of sight, a quick dash while aiming a blossom or spamming your pull can save their life. Next up is Petal, easily the most creative part of your kit, but also the one that gets misused the most.
Oh, sorry.
Lifeweaver's Petal platform has 300 health, and both its cooldown and duration are 12 seconds long, so you'll almost always have it available unless it gets destroyed. Petal is a bit map and comp dependent, but in general, you want to use it to give yourself and your team access to existing high ground. Not use it as high ground itself. You're exposed, it's fairly weak, easy to destroy, and standing on it the whole time actually denies your team the value it provides because they can't use it. Pre-existing high ground usually offers better cover, can't be destroyed, and doesn't cost your ability the whole time. When placing a Petal to access high ground, don't just put it right next to one high ground. Look around and see if there are multiple high grounds nearby. If there is, place your Petal at a point between them, which allows your team to reach both areas, giving you more options and maximising its value. Try to pre-place Petals before a fight too, if you think you can play near it or won't need it for the next 12 seconds. This lets you essentially have 2 Petals in the next fight. Lastly, if you want to place a Petal really far away, you can throw it against the wall of the high ground you want to place it at to get the perfect working placement. Or if you want to place a Petal above you, you can do the same thing but bounce it off of the map geometry above, or even the skybox's hitbox. Once you've got a handle on Petal, it's time to talk about Lifegrip.
Safety in numbers.
Lifegrip is Lifeweaver's most powerful ability, and easily the hardest to master. It takes a lot of thought, awareness, quick judgment, and ability tracking to use well. Lifegrip is great for 2 things: instantly repositioning a teammate and saving someone's life. It has a 30-meter range, an 18-second cooldown, and applies a short immortality effect while the target's in the bubble. Keep in mind though, negative effects like anti-nade or rampage can for some reason still be applied even if you have the cleanse perk active, as the perk only applies the cleanse on the initial cast. You'll mainly want to save grip for when a teammate is about to die, or they're caught somewhere they can't safely rotate out of. It's also worth using preemptively if you know they're about to take a big burst of damage. To determine when a teammate is going to die, you'll need to consider both your teammate and the enemies you're facing. For teammates, pay attention to what hero they're on, and what abilities or ultimates they have to escape with, heal themselves, or give themselves more health. You don't want to yank a Doomfist out with Meteor Strike, pull a Winton right before he pops Primal, or yoink a Ram with Nemesis form. Try to keep track of your teammates' cooldowns, and for ultimates, check the scoreboard often for ult charge. You'll see me doing this a lot when I have these kind of ultimates on my team. He has Meteor, so should be fine. If you're not sure, or you don't have time to check, if in doubt, just pull them out. It's still better than letting them die. You also need to consider what heroes the enemy has. Try to keep mental notes of how much damage their weapons and abilities do. For example, if your teammate just got tagged by an Ashe and she's still scoped in on them, it might be worth pulling them before that follow-up shot connects. Or if Junker Queen's ramping up her axe on them, even if they're not that low, you should probably pull them, as it does a lot of damage. How safe you play with your pole depends on the enemy's accuracy too, and should be adjusted on a match-by-match, player-by-player basis, and even as the match goes on. If they're missing a lot, you can be greedier and hold the grip longer, but if they're hitting everything, play it safe and pull earlier. It can sometimes be good to use Lifegrip proactively too, for pulling someone to high ground or into a strong position before a fight, if you think you'll have it back before you need it. And it can also even be worth it during a fight, but usually only if they have an ult which benefits massively from high ground or quick reposition, like Soldier's Tactical Visor or Cassidy's High Noon. You can also combo Lifegrip with your other abilities. The pull heals for 75, which is almost a full Blossom, so if someone's barely hanging on, gripping them while firing a Blossom can instantly stabilize them. This is made even stronger by the Cleanse perk, as it cleanses the DPS passive, so the pull and Blossom heals aren't reduced, and hit for the full 75 and 80, for a big 155. And if your Petal is nearby, Grip will try to place your target on it automatically. You can use that to pull Petal combo someone straight onto a platform and lift them up to safety, avoiding any follow-up damage after the pull, making for a much more guaranteed save. Finally, if you're desperate for that last bit of ult charge and out of blossoms, or one blossom won't be enough, you can grip a teammate who needs healing for a small chunk of quick charge. It's niche, but it can come in really clutch when you desperately need your tree right that instant. Speaking of trees, next up is Tree of Life, Lifeweaver's big BioLite ultimate. Tree is actually quite a good ultimate, when used correctly. It's not a very good defensive ult. It can work well enough defensively against some low damage ultimates like Coalescence, or ultimates you can use the tree to break line of sight from, like High Noon or Tactical Visor. But it's really bad against high damage team wiping ultimates like Nano Blade or Kitsune. Where Tree shines best, apart from its blocking abilities, which we'll cover in the advanced chapter, is its ability to both help push the enemy team or stabilize and sustain your own team for a long time. It lasts for 15 seconds, and the overhealth lingers for an additional 7 seconds after the tree ends, or you leave its radius, for a massive 22 seconds in total of team-wide healing and overhealth. If you lose your tank, or you're down 1 or 2, you can use this to sustain you and your team until they come back, so you don't have to back out and give up precious space or progress. It's also fantastic to use when you're struggling to keep up with damage. The consistent AoE healing lets you catch up and breathe a little, especially when you're under pressure from poke damage. You can even use Tree aggressively to initiate a push. Place it just in front of where you want to take the fight, so your team can push while staying in its healing aura. The extra sustain and overhealth let everyone play way more aggressively, including you. Don't be afraid to get in there. Once you plop down that tree, it's time to get out those Thorns. Ultimately, think of your tree as your sustain, push, and DPS time button. It's not meant to counter everything. It's meant to keep you in the fight when things get messy, and let you take space when your team's ready to push. Now you've got the basics of Lifeweaver's abilities down, let's talk positioning. I'm going to cover some general positioning guidelines here, but if you want to know how to position and play against every hero in the game, and also learn some tips and tricks, check out my Lifeweaver tips for every hero video popping up in the top right now. I'll also put it in the description and pinned comment below. When positioning on Lifeweaver, you want to start out in your team's backline and adjust depending on what the enemy team is running and how the fight develops. If the enemy has no range damage, or isn't focusing you with it, and they also have no dive or flankers, or just aren't focusing you with them, stay grounded with your team's backline as long as you can shoot the enemy from it. It's much easier to hit Thorns from ground level, and you tag a lot more enemies, applying more damage pressure and farming your tree faster. But if you ever can't see or shoot the enemy team from your position, take advantage of nearby high ground or your Petal to get a better angle. If the enemy isn't focusing you with range damage, but does have one dive or flank hero, like Tracer, Genji, Reaper, Sombra, or they have 2 or even 3 but they're just not very coordinated or much of a threat, start playing from nearby high ground whenever possible if you can still heal and damage from it. If not, play on the ground normally, but use Petal to reach high ground whenever you're threatened. It's much harder for these kinds of heroes to contest you once you're above them. High grounds that lack direct access are especially strong, since they completely shut down heroes like Tracer, as she only has horizontal mobility, and force others like Reaper or Sombra to burn an ability just to reach you, at which point you can simply dash back to your team or pedal up again, leaving them stranded. By the time they get another chance, they'll likely be dead or forced out. If there isn't any nearby high ground, this is one of the few times where using Petal as makeshift high ground is actually worth it, but only mid-fight, not before. Pre-place the Petal and stay grounded until you're about to be contested. That way, you'll have a Petal ready and your cooldown will be back or almost back by the time they dive you. It makes it much harder for limited vertical mobility heroes to reach you without wasting their cooldowns, and gives your team time to peel for you or punish the dive. If the enemy does have strong range damage focusing you, like Widow, Ashe or Hanzo, but the dive threat is still only from one dive hero, try to position on a high ground that breaks line of sight from their ranged DPS while still letting you heal and damage safely. If that's not possible though, pre-place a Petal for emergency elevation and use it only when contested, like before. If the enemy has both strong ranged pressure and multiple dive heroes, stay close to your team in the backline. Most high grounds will just get you overwhelmed by both threats at once anyway. Instead, use your Petal as a quick escape tool. When dive heroes commit onto you, Petal straight up to buy space and block line of sight to the dive. You can stay up there briefly if it's safe, or retreat to a nearby high ground with cover once they've used their mobility. And if you're only being focused by range damage, just play grounded. I forgot to add this to the flowchart. Once your base positioning is set, keep adjusting throughout the fight. If you're winning the fight or your team's investing ultimates, push up a little and play more aggressively. If you're losing, back out and regroup with your team. Lifeweaver's positioning isn't static. It's a constant cycle of reading threats, adapting spacing, and staying one step ahead of the enemy. With positioning covered, it's time to pick your perks, the abilities that add on to your kit and the choices you'll make. For perks, there really isn't much choice. Always take Cleanse and Super Bloom. Lifeweaving and Petal Power in their current state are just extremely weak and not worth taking. Lifeweaving adds 30 healing to your next Blossom every 5 seconds if you use your dash, which is your only self-heal and one of your only 2 mobility cooldowns. And after the DPS passive reduction, that's only really 21 extra healing. It's almost meaningless and has 0 impact in real fights. Cleanse, on the other hand, gives you far more value and multiple benefits. It boosts your healing numbers much more than Lifeweaving too, by cleansing the DPS passive and restoring full healing on your grip and blossoms. With Cleanse, Lifegrip's heal jumps from the reduced 52.5 to 75, and blossoms from 56 to 80. That's an extra 46.5 healing instantly from those two alone. And that's just the guaranteed extra heals you get during the pull. Your teammate effectively has a 30% boost on heals received from any source until damaged by DPS again. It's basically a mini Ananade. And that's not all. Cleanse also removes negative effects like Anti, Discord, and any burn effects, adding extra utility to your kit and punishing enemies for relying on those debuffs. Plus, if you successfully cleanse something, you'll also get a massive 4-second cooldown reduction on Lifegrip, which can easily save someone's life later. How many times have you lost a teammate when you were a second or 2 off of Lifegrip? It's also just straight up OP into Queen, Mei and Moaga, as all of Queen's bleed effects, Mei's primary freeze spray and blizzard, and Moagua's burn effects all count for the cooldown reduction. For the major perks, Petal Power sounds fine on paper and in a vacuum, but fails in practice. That 30% attack speed buff forces you to stand up on your Petal, fully exposed with no nearby cover, and away from good positioning. It's not a good trade. You're also denying your team Petal's true utility, like giving your team access to high ground, blocking or trapping enemies, and saving lives. Using it just for a small attack speed boost wastes one of the best, most versatile tools in your kit. And it just can't compete with Super Bloom anyway. Super Bloom is amazing. It completely outclasses it. It gives you more extra damage than Petal Power does, on demand, anywhere, without needing to be on your Petal or sacrifice an ability. It's safer, stronger, has less requirements, and is far more flexible. So, in conclusion, take Cleanse and Super Bloom every game. Once you've mastered all the basics of Lifeweaver, you're ready to push into the advanced techniques, tricks, and techs that separate good Lifeweavers from the greats. This is where you start really min-maxing your impact, squeezing every bit of value from your kit, knowing exactly when to heal and when to damage, and using every cooldown with purpose. Time to start pushing damage hard and only healing when it's really necessary. Don't just heal bot the whole game, barely ever touching your Thorns, and ending the match with 53 damage and 13k heals. Nuh-uh, time to flip it. Default to Thorns mode whenever you're not actively healing, and only swap to Blossoms when someone genuinely needs healing. To decide that, ask yourself these 4 questions. Do they need to get back into the fight as soon as possible? If it's your tank and the enemy team is nearby, the longer they're out the fight, the more space and possibly progress the enemy will take, so you want to heal them up and get them back in as fast as possible. Or if it's one of your DPS and they have a fight-winning limit ready, you want to get them back in the fight as soon as possible so that they can use that. Are they actually in danger? Is your other support not nearby or too busy to heal them? And is your co-support a low output healer like Lucio, Mercy or Zen? If the answer to all 4 is no, then keep DPSing, they'll be fine and your other support will top them up. Your heals are super slow and clunky anyway. If you do have a low heals co-support though, you'll find yourself healing a lot more than usual, and sadly have way less time to DPS. But you can still sneak in some damage during safe windows, when nobody needs healing, when your team's using big limits like Grav or Kitsune, and whenever you use your tree. Keep pushing your damage output and limit testing how much you can get away with not healing. With practice, you'll soon naturally develop a feel for when healing is necessary and when you're just overhealing out of habit and could be DPSing instead. Learning this balance is the key to unlocking Lifeweaver's true potential. You'll do more damage, build more trees faster, and still keep your team alive. Moving on from damage min-maxing, let's talk about hero matchups. I'm going to cover some of Lifeweaver's most important hero matchups here, the ones that can really swing a fight if you know how to handle them correctly. But if you want to go deeper and learn how to play against every hero in the game, how Lifeweaver interacts with them, plus all the tips, techs and tricks you'll need, check out my Lifeweaver tips, tricks and techs for every hero video. There's a card in the top right now, and I'll also link it in the description and pinned comment below. Against Ball, you can pull a teammate through his mines to clear a path through them, and wipe out a ton of them. You can also use your Petal and your tree to clear some more. You can Petal yourself up after being pile drived to protect you from any follow-up shots. Or you can Petal the Ball instead. If Ball tries to pile drive your Petal, make sure to break it before he hits it to make him miss. When playing against Genji, you want to keep your distance at all times by using your Petal and your dash, as if Genji gets close to you, he'll be able to easily free-shot you due to Lifeweaver's huge hitbox. When Genji Dragon Blades, look to pull and Petal who he targets to keep them safe from the blade. Make sure he commits to them first though, before you pull them, otherwise you can end up getting yourself and your teammates killed. For playing against Sombra, stay on top of your Petal. She then either has to teleport up, making her an easy kill with no escape option, or she has to hack your Petal to force you back down, which reveals her and makes for another easy kill. Lifeweaver is also amazing at spy checking Sombra due to his weapon's rate of fire and spread. You should always be taking advantage of this to easily shut down a Sombra. When you think a Sombra has EMP, keep your distance, and when your team gets EMP'd, use your tree. It will instantly heal back the damage dealt by the EMP and keep your team healed while they're hacked. Sombra's hack also counts as a negative effect. So does her virus. And her EMP. When playing against Tracer, it can be a good idea to pre-place a Petal, so that when she engages on you, you have 2 Petals worth of time to stay away from her. This is also very strong to do when she has her Pulse Bomb, as it will make it much harder for her to stick you with her Pulse Bomb. Keep an eye on your other teammates when you think she has her Pulse Bomb, especially your other support, as she'll usually try to stick you or the other support, then pull them when they get stuck, and it will entirely negate the damage and save your teammate. If her Pulse Bomb lands on the ground next to you, you can block the damage from it with your tree. You can also use your Petal. Against Avenger in Burrow, lifting them up with Petal and then breaking it can reset the charge on their Burrow or end their Burrow if it's near the end of the timer. You can also do this by throwing and instantly breaking a Petal, but this method is much harder to do and a lot more inconsistent. One of the pros of this method though is that you don't have to be on the Petal and can do it from very far away. The reason this tech works is because Petal raises them slightly off of the ground. So when you break the Petal, they are in the falling state of burrow for a split second. This is the burrow falling state I'm talking about. You can see if their burrow timer runs out during this state, the burrow simply ends, and Venture returns to their normal state. Against Venture's ultimate, you can simply Petal up, and they won't be able to hit you at all. You can also use your tree to provide protection for your whole team. When playing against Zarya and you think she has ultimate, try to play where there is no roof above you or the ceiling is very high, so that if you get grabbed, you can easily Petal out. If you don't have your Petal, or you're not able to lift yourself up, you can also use your tree to protect you and your team while you're grabbed. If you're not caught in Zarya's grab, you can also pull someone out and Petal up the rest. Those are some of the most important matchups to learn. Once you've got a feel for them, you'll find it way easier playing against these matchups. Moving on from playing against heroes, let's take a look at heroes who work well with Lifeweaver, and who you don't want to see on your team. First up is quite a controversial pick. I actually really enjoy playing with a Mercy as Lifeweaver. I know it's a low healing combo, and don't get me wrong, it doesn't always work, but there is some good synergy here, and it works a lot better today than it used to. Since Mercy's healing got buffed back up to 60, and her flash heal perk was given its own separate cooldown, the heals actually aren't that bad anymore. As long as your team isn't face tanking everything non-stop and taking infinite damage, it should be enough. With a good Mercy, I think the synergies outweigh the weak heals. Mercy can fly freely, dodge damage and stay mobile, while you can still keep her up thanks to Lifeweaver's lock-on heals. This makes her very hard to kill. She can also fly to you on your Petal and use you like she would a Pharah to slingshot up into the sky or reach high ground. You can even pull off some insane reses you'd never get otherwise, thanks to this combo, because Petal platform can lift players' souls. Just throw a Petal on the soul, which appears as a hero icon with a circle around it, and then when the Petal is activated, the soul lifts up with it. Mercy can res as it lifts or after, it doesn't matter. Ana benefits massively from Lifeweaver as she has zero mobility, so Petal and Lifegrip open up routes and positions for her she could never use otherwise. It can be very strong. Niran's also really good at peeling for an Ana, like a Brig traditionally would. You can easily pull her out or Petal her up if she gets stuck. And Ana can take good advantage of Petal power, if you ever use that perk. Just remember when playing with an Ana to try not to pull someone out as she nanos them. Queen also has no mobility. Giving her access to high grounds and routes she could never use on her own completely breaks her power budget. A Queen suddenly popping up on your high ground, speedrun you with Shout is terrifying. You can also cleanse her if she gets antied, which is one of her biggest weaknesses. Just remember though, when playing with a Queen, not to pull her out until after she's used her Shout. Juno synergizes amazingly well with Weaver. She has no vertical mobility, so can use Petals to gain that verticality, and then use her great horizontal mobility with glide and double jump to stay up there and rain down some pretty free huge torpedoes. Juno's also quite squishy and diveable, especially since they nerfed her health to 225, so having Weaver to peel for her or pull her to safety when threatened is really huge. Reinhardt is an excellent partner for Weaver. He lacks vertical mobility, so benefits a lot from Petal, plus the Rein can play super aggro, pin in, maybe get a kill or two, then get safely pulled back out like a tank boomerang. Another great pairing is Soldier. He's a long-range hit scan with no vertical mobility, so benefits a ton from Petal, letting him access high grounds or take perfect vantage points he couldn't otherwise reach. You can also stack Petal power with Soldier's Stim Pack for a crazy 50% attack speed boost. That's the same attack speed of Kitsune Rush. Now that we've gone over the synergies, let's go over some of the worst teammates you can get. Playing with a Baptiste without comms is just so rough. You both have long cooldown life-saving abilities, Lifegrip and Immortality Field, and you'll constantly end up using them at the same time. Every time you pull someone, he lamps them. Every time you lamp someone, you pull them out. You can try to let them use their lamp first, but they might not use it thinking you're going to pull them, or they might not see the person needs saving because they're busy with something else. It's just a hot mess. Lucio is another tough one. They're almost always off DPSing and redditing in the backline, or going for boops and leaving you to solo heal the entire team, which Lifeweaver isn't really capable of. You'll also get zero peel or heals from your co-support, and it'll be really tough to stay alive. Ram is just a nightmare to figure out when to pull. It is an impossible feat. He can give himself more health by going into Nemesis form or by popping his ult. He can also block and literally be critical but barely taking any damage, so he doesn't need pulled out right then, but his Nemesis form might just end abruptly and him explode. It's just too much to track at once. Zen just sucks because he puts out such little heals. The Discord can be really useful, but it can be really hard to keep everyone up. But at least he's not as useless as Lucio. So yeah, if you see one of these heroes in your team, just brace yourself and try and adapt. With hero synergies covered, let's get techie. But first, a quick note. There are a ton of hero-specific techs you can do with Lifeweaver's abilities, far too many to cover them all in this guide. If you want full explanations and tutorials for all of them, I cover every single one in my Lifeweaver tips, tricks and techs for every hero video. There's a card in the top right for it now, and I'll link it in the description and pinned comment below. You should also check out this Lifeweaver Training Mode workshop code. It's perfect for practicing Lifeweaver's techs or just warming up your pulls and pells. It's honestly one of the best tools out there. The code is YEMIJ, or YEM1J, and it's made by G-Clef. It covers all the techs, gives you a tip for each one, and I use it in queue all the time. To use the code, just create a custom game, open settings, enter the code. You can also save it as a preset for future use, and then you can just load it from this menu. Now let's get on to the techs. First up for techs is tree techs. Your tree isn't just for healing or cover, it's a giga-buffed 1200 health Maywall, and you need to start taking advantage of that. Start looking at every doorway or choke, and taking note of whether your tree could block it or not. It's insanely strong, and cutting off a tank from the rest of their team, or just splitting their team in half can instantly win you fights for free. You've got to start using this. Here are some of the best spots. On Busan Mecha Base, on this doorway here on the high ground. On the Pal Sanctum on either side are these doorways here. On Oasis Gardens on the side door here. On King's Row 3rd point to block the defending team in spawn. With tree covered, let's get into some Petal techs. Stop thinking of your Petal as just for elevation and start thinking outside the box. Petal is a tool you can use in many different ways to disrupt, trap, block and destroy your enemies. It can also be used for a lot of techs. I'm going to show you 2 of the best ways to use Petal, what isn't simply to elevate teammates. But if you want to see 8 extra ways to use your Petal, check out my 8 extra high value ways to use Petal video. If you're being chased and there's a staircase with a low ceiling nearby, head for it and drop a Petal below you as you enter. It lifts up and blocks the doorway behind you. Now the enemy has to either waste time destroying it or wait for it to lower back down, giving you just enough time to safely escape. You can also reverse this tech. If an enemy is backing out of a staircase, throw the Petal down the stairs to block them in and make for a free kill. It's a disengage, a stall or a trap all from one Petal. You can place it on the inside of a room at a doorway, and as long as it has some height above, it will work really well to trap the enemy. Now, if an enemy tries to walk out the room, they'll activate the Petal, and they won't be able to leave, and this buys you and your team a lot more time to finish them off before they can retreat to safety. Or, alternatively, if you don't want someone to come into a room, you can place it on the outside of the doorway to give yourself more time to make a getaway or heal up. If you need another Blossom but you're out of ammo, you can throw a Petal out while holding the Blossom charge bind, and this will let you charge and send out one more even though you have no ammo, which can be really useful for getting an emergency healing. Just make sure you have this setting turned off, otherwise it won't work. It's in the Lifeweaver settings, under Hero and HUD, and then Advanced. Secondary fire cancels primary fire. Turn this off. You can also make Petals go up twice by doing what's called the double Petal tech. To do this tech, on certain spots on maps, just lift up the Petal in the correct placement, then either walk to the edge or roof slide on a roof nearby, and then once it's reset, you can lift it up again, gaining twice the height. If you want to see 45 double Petal tech spots, check out my double Petal tech spot video here. Other than Petal techs, or simply lifting teammates up, you can also use Petal to do some crazy flanks and rollouts with, and bring your team along too. You can get some easy kills and free fight wins by popping up on unsuspecting enemies this way. On Ilios Lighthouse, on the left of this door here, if you come up here and place the Petal, you can jump over the high ground and over the buildings. It's a huge flank. It also works both ways. On Lijiang Tower Market here, you can Petal up and over into the enemy team's backline. On Oasis City Centre, if you come over to this plant and get on top of it, you can Petal up and over onto the high ground. This could easily land you some kills on people up here, and you don't need mobility for it, so you can bring anyone with you. On Circuit Royale here, on the right, you'll have to be on attack for this one, and then you can Petal over the roof. You do need some kind of mobility to land on the high ground though. On Dorado on attack here, if you go right, you can flank over this wall into the enemy team's backline. On Havana on the third point on attack, you can go right here, and there's a little window you can Petal up to and destroy anyone positioned up here. On Junkertown attack, you can go right here and Petal up and over the roof to land on the defending team. This one's another great one. On Rialto on attack, you can go right here, dash across, life grip anyone you want to bring with you, and then Petal over the roof onto the high ground and kill anyone defending up here. On Shambali Monastery, if you go left on attack, you can Petal over here, over the roof. You do need mobility though. It also works both ways, and on the way back, you don't need mobility. On Watchpoint Gibraltar, on the third point on attack, if you go left here, you can Petal over, and you can bring anyone with you since you don't need mobility. You can also Petal back on the right here, but you do need mobility. On Iconwald attack, on the first point here just out of spawn, you can Petal up, land on the bastion, and then Petal up again and over the roof. You do need mobility though. You can also do this one both ways, and on the way back you don't need mobility. This is a big flank. On Midtown on attack, if you go up here on the left, you can Petal over the train and onto the enemy high ground and land on the defending team. On Numbani first point, if you go right and place a Petal here, you can Petal you and your team up to high ground and storm the defending team up here. On Paraiso first point, if you go right here, you can Petal over the roof and onto the high ground. You can do this one the other way too. On Esperanza, in the middle of the map here, you can Petal up and over this building to land on the opposite high ground. If you want to see more flanks, check out my new video showcasing all the Petal flanks and rollouts I know. There's a card for it in the top right now. That about covers Petal techs and shenanigans. Next up is Lifegrip techs.
Safety in numbers.
Lifegrip can interact with teammates in some pretty weird ways, and can even slingshot them flying. I'm going to teach you how to do some of the best ones. Beware though, you'll probably need to be on comms or with a duo to consistently pull these off. First up is Reinhardt. You can make his shatter fly and come crashing down from the sky on unsuspecting victims by petaling up, breaking the Petal, then pulling the Rein. Then all the Rein has to do is press shatter mid-pull and the pull will cancel, Rein will keep the momentum from Lifegrip and zoom into the sky, and then come crashing down on unsuspecting foes. This works for Orisa too. Just do the same thing and have the Orisa use her ultimate mid-pull to turn her into an Apache helicopter. You can turn Cassidy's High Noon into Fly Noon as well by having the cast roll, mid-pull, and then immediately use their ultimate. There's also some pull techs you can do with a Junkrat's Riptire. If your Junkrat mines in, then starts Riptire, you can pull them out and the tire will stay there, allowing the rat to blow it up immediately and get easy free kills, while the rat themselves is pulled out and safe. You can also kinda do this one in reverse, but it's way more niche and harder to pull off, as you need to get near the enemy as Lifeweaver. You can tell the rat to start Riptire and then immediately pull them in, and the tire will spawn at the end of the pull, surprising enemies and snagging easy kills. And for our last tech, and last part of the Lifeweaver movie, a niche but life-saving pull tech. So Lifegrip unfortunately can't be buffered, meaning that if you hold the button down, it won't Lifegrip someone as soon as possible. You instead have to repress it, so you essentially have to spam the button to try and pull someone as soon as possible. Well, if you put Lifegrip on scroll wheel up, down, or both. Now when trying to pull someone as soon as you get in range or line of sight, just keep scrolling your mouse wheel and it will pull them on the first frame possible. This can seriously come in clutch, but it can be a clunky bind to use, or you might already have something on scroll wheel. This one takes a bit of setup, but once you get used to it, it'll save teammates way more than spamming Lifegrip does. And with that concludes the end of the Lifeweaver movie, guide. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed the video. This is probably the most amount of time and effort I've ever spent making a video, and it's definitely my longest video. If you liked it, a like and sub helps a lot. And if you want more educational content, check out my educational videos playlist on my channel. I also have some montages and some other kinds of videos, and I stream live on Twitch if you want to hang out and see me playing live. See you next time, bye!